I don't film in 4K. It is not worth it for me. 99% of the time, I am actually filming in 1080p. The only time 4K is worth it is if you actually want to crop into something, because you can crop in 4 times before you start to lose that quality. Whereas if you crop in on a 1080 or pure HD footage, you're going to start to get more noise the more you crop in post, or even if you use the clear image or digital zoom in these cameras. What I'm filming on right now is a Sony ZVE-1. I've got a Rode Video Micro 2 attached to the top to get that awesome audio, and we're just on the 20mm f1.8, and we're all the way wide open at f1.8. Yep, f1.8. YouTube has a lot of overheating tests for this camera, and they'll all show you 4K 30, 4K 60, 4K 24, 25, 50, 4K 120. I don't know if the 4K 120 are out, but everything's 4K, right? Gerald Undone did a great job. Jason Morris did a great job as well. So they really do a lot of great work. But if you're someone like me that only films in 1080p 99% of the time, how do you know, okay, if it's gonna overheat in 4K, or if it lasts an hour in 4K, is it gonna last an hour and a half, 2 hours in 1080p in high definition? What do you make of it? So since it is super hot in New York for the past few days, I decided to take advantage of that heat and do my very own overheating test. All right, so right now we are in a carpeted bedroom. This is what I use in my office or studio, and I have an air conditioner right there. I turned it off. Here, you hear it turn on? I left it off, and yesterday I was about to go to the gym, and I decided, you know what, since it's so hot, like too hot to do anything, let me conduct my own overheating test. So I didn't have a thermometer, but I would have to say that it was probably about 80 degrees in this room. It was so hot in this room to the point where when you walked in the room, it just felt too hot and you would start to sweat instantly. Almost like getting on a subway car. Almost like getting on one of those cars in the subway where the AC is broken and it's just packed and it's just way too hot. That's pretty much how it was in this room. I didn't have any sunlight coming in because obviously sunlight hitting a camera is going to overheat no matter what. But that was the environment that I had this room in. All right, Sony overheating test. It is currently 88 degrees right now, and it's pretty humid as well. September 6th, 2023, this is probably one of the last days we're gonna have where it's super hot like this. We're gonna let this camera sit in here for a little bit. Let's see how long it runs. We've got 97% battery. If it gets to an hour, that's good enough for me. It may even get to longer than an hour, so let's see how it goes. It's only been 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Jessie was curious. We're gonna take her for a walk. I know, it's hot. It's hot in here. It's hot in here, pup. Oh, hi. Whew, that camera is hot. 32% battery, filming for an hour and 28 minutes. Obviously, I'm still recording. The lens is even starting to get warm. The back of the camera is, yeah, this camera is hot. It's hot all around. That battery grip is getting pretty hot. So I checked on the camera after about an hour or 27 minutes of just leaving it hitting record in 1080p, 60 frames per second, and I found that the camera still had not overheated. However, there was a little temperature icon on the screen which said that the temperature was getting high, and it was very hot to the touch. So will it overheat in 1080p in a super hot environment? No. However, would I want to run it in that environment for a very long time, over an hour? No. Because heat is not good for electronics, it's not good for batteries, it's just not good for the overall processors or any type of computing device, such as a camera like this, which is an image capturing device. Heat is an enemy to all electronics, especially high quality electronics like the ZVE-1. So in a room like this where I can control the environment, I would definitely run the AC. I'd either just leave it on like that and then it just go into the background noise. You can probably still hear me really well. However, another thing that I would do is I would just run it for 5 minutes. Maybe I'd turn it off, I'd shoot for 5 minutes, and when it got too hot in here, I would just take a break and just go kind of back and forth. If you have central air, if you have more control in the office or studio or environment you're filming in, then absolutely. If you're filming in 1080p, you've got nothing to worry about. I should note that, again, this was in 1080p, 60 frames per second. So if you drop it down to 30 or 24, you probably aren't going to get as hot as I did. I just always like to shoot in 1080p and 60 frames. I think it looks better. It just looks smoother, especially if you're walking around doing camera movements. But for doing a talking head like this or a podcast, 30 or 24p is probably fine. The camera probably won't get as warm. You could also get something like this, which is a very cheap USB-C rechargeable fan, and just kind of point it at the camera. Don't even know if you probably can't even hear it. So right now I have it right behind the camera on the lowest speed, and here's the highest speed. So put it right behind the camera, it's going to cool the camera pretty well. But something like this would be pretty good. Mark Bennett's Camera Crisis talked about one of these that he just Velcroed to his tripod and then just got some airflow. You can put this thing, I mean, you can film right here and then have that air conditioner blowing cold air right onto the camera itself. But we also have to, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, I'm going to sound like everyone else, we also have to take into account what this camera was designed for. It was designed for doing quick shoots, 20 or 30 minutes tops, solo creators, such as yours truly over here, and it was designed to actually put it in your bag, take out, and in my experience, it's good if you don't have a lot of control over your lighting in your environment, because it's got that 12 megapixel sensor, the same sensor found in the A7S III and the FX3, which is the best in the business as far as low light is. So this camera really shines in that take it, run it and gun it, point it at something. You want to film some subways, you're in the park after dark, you're walking down the street. That's where this camera really shines, when you don't have control over your environment. But a lot of times if you're outside, you have free flowing air. Even if it's super hot, you're only filming for about 5 or 10 minutes maximum anyway. Even using it the way that I use it right now, I'm only talking for about 4 or 5 minutes at a time, maybe 10 or 15 minutes sometimes. I've got the gift of gab. But that's what the camera was designed to do. This camera was not really designed to sit down and do a podcast and do super long form content where you're filming 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. If I was gonna pick a camera to strictly leave in a studio and I didn't wanna have the AC running and I didn't wanna have to worry about fans, I would probably go with the FX30, just because the FX3 is crazy expensive at $4,000. The A7S III, again, I think it's a little bit too expensive for that. The FX30 comes in at under $2,000. It's got dual card slots. It's got a fan in there. It's basically a cheaper FX3. It does have that crop sensor, so it's not going to do as good in low light as compared to the ZVE-1, A7S III, or FX3. However, you can get some really nice lenses for the APS-C cameras. And again, let's remember, if you have lights, you actually have control over your environment if you're shooting in a studio or bedroom or office, or if you're shooting inside doing long form content like podcasts. You're taking it out and you're actually in the park after dark. That's really where this full frame 12 megapixel sensor is going to shine. So this camera was designed for primarily taking it out, super low light conditions, variety of different conditions, taking it out sunrise, sunset, after dark, during dark, doesn't matter. A variety of environments as far as lighting is concerned, but it was not designed to just put on a tripod and then you have an interview for 2 hours. Even with a single card slot, if you're having a really important interview or a really important podcast, giving you those 2 card slots that you get in the FX30, it does mean you get more redundancy. You just get more of a reliable camera for sitting on a table or a tripod and just hitting record and just having an interview. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Don't sleep on 1080p. Secret, you don't need 4K. We will talk about that in another video. Anyways, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you found it helpful. Thanks everyone. See you in the next one. Bye.